Gonna be live in a second. All right, we're going live and going live and going live. Show comments on the stage. We'll do that. Crusader, hello. I'm curious how you sent me a comment before I even went live. But appreciate it. Appreciate it. So let me get everything organized here. We are now live on TikTok. We're on stereo. We're on YouTube. And off we go. Yeah, no, I got the eye. I'm going to get to that in a second. But let me just start off with good morning. It is another beautiful Sunday afternoon. It is, thank you for taking the time to check out Cosmic Matters. This is episode 13. I am Matt of Cosmic Matters. And I created this this video series to bring everyone a different perspective of the world, to talk about things that we don't normally talk about. Philosophy and space is what we're going to be talking about here today. And what we talk about every day. So episode 13, I can't believe I've been doing this for 13 weeks. And as some people, as Crusader has already pointed out, and as everyone could see, I've got an eye patch on now. It's kind of funny. What's interesting is on my stereo avatar, I put on an eye patch, and I've had an eye patch forever on my stereo avatar. If you don't know what stereo is, it's just an app where you can talk to people, and it's like it was very popular during COVID, right? So I had thrown an eye patch on, and people used to always ask me, "Why do you have an eye patch?" And I would make up. I did like the Joker thing, where every time I would tell a different story. So I'd be like, one time I was like, "Oh, it's so I could see the light and the dark in every person." And another one, I was like, I was bowling and my hand slipped out, and my thumb jabbed me in my eye. And so I wear an eye patch, and so now today I actually have the eye patch. It's always been on my avatar in stereo, but today I got to wear the eye patch. And the reason is I was going to come up with some interesting fake reasons, but the real reason is I'm diabetic. I had a scare this what is today? Today's Sunday, so it was Friday. I had a scare on Friday where, like, all of a sudden, not that I could see out of the eye, but I had basically what happened is I had a blood vessel rupture in the back of my eye, and the blood spilled into my eye. There was no pain involved. I'm not in any pain. Wasn't in any pain. Did freak me out. And so what it's doing is it's dissipating right now, and it's challenging for me to see through it. It almost looks like, how do I explain? It looks like, if anyone's ever seen the movie Ghost, but I realize if I reference Ghost, not too many people know the reference of Ghost. But if you ever seen the movie Ghost, where like the demons come and they pull people and they attack them, those black things, those black demons that come, that is what it might looks like inside my right eye. It's just swirling blackness, and it was really thick at one point when it first happened. Now it's just kind of like misty around, and they just told me it's going to take a week or two for the blood to dissipate. Hopefully it does. The danger is that it could potentially, if it doesn't dissipate, they might have to drain it out, which I hope it doesn't happen. They said it's very rare that happens, but it's definitely put me on the on a different track. I've been spending this weekend, planning out getting serious about my health, and they said this is not something that they basically said this is a good warning that you need to get your blood sugar under control. And so that's what we're going to be working on this week. So that's the explanation for the eye patch. Now, I'm not going to explain it 5 more times because I'm sure as people come in, as we go through the show today, some people will ask, but there you go. That's the answer. Dry fasting. Yeah. I'm doing fasting right now. I'm doing what I start at 3 and end at 9. So I'm only doing 18-6 fast. I am going to be doing some fast to lower the blood sugar, but I need like one of the problems is that I went on Manjaro. I guess I'll dive into my personal life here. Was not the point of today, but since we're asking, so I was on Manjaro for a little bit. And then unfortunately the company I was working for that had my health insurance went bankrupt and I lost my job. And so I couldn't afford the Manjaro, which was like $1,000 a week if you don't, or a month or whatever, without insurance. So I didn't have the insurance. I went off to Manjaro and I had gotten my A1C from like 12 down to under 7. It was like, or no, it was right around 7, 7.1, 7.2. And then, so I went down and then I went back up. And so basically the doctor said, with the blood sugar, it's, you're creating all these new blood vessels and whatnot. And since they're new, they have a tendency to rupture, and especially if you have high blood sugar. So I got to get back. I got to make enough money to pay for Manjaro without the health insurance, or find a job that has health insurance, one or the other. And so that's what we're working on right now. But yeah, fasting is definitely something I'm looking into that I've done before. It's just, challenging. But yeah, I'd rather see than eat. So yeah, so fasting will be something that I will be doing. But anyway, so that's the eye patch. That's where it comes from. If you hear any other stories, I might come up with some new ones that are fancier or cooler. But that is the reason I got it on. But what I did say to myself was like, I wasn't going to do today's podcast, but I'm like, I've done 12 weeks in a row. I can't miss I can't miss week 13. I was like, yeah, am I going to go on with the eye patch? And then I'm like, you know what? Screw it. This is what I do. It's what I do every Sunday. It's what I enjoy doing, and I want to be here for the people who want to listen to Cosmic Matters. So, thank you. Yes, the Pirates of the Caribbean edition of Cosmic Matters. So today's what I'm going to be talking about today is we're talking about humanity after money, right? So I'm talking about, it's funny that the reason I got this health issue going on is because of insurance and money and whatnot and issues. And now that's what I've been talking about. And so unfortunately, I don't think maybe if I get to like 80, another 30 years, I think I'll make it to the robots, the sustainable abundance. We'll see. But we started this talk last week, and I ended up doing so much of a preamble. I never got to the videos I wanted to talk about. I never got to some of the videos I wanted. That's why we're doing a part 2 about this. And what I wanted to say is that, I've had this discussion before about money, and that money isn't real. That money is it's a measuring stick. It's something that we use to measure. It's not something we think it's real because of the fact that we have lived in a society where we've made it a real thing. But if I talked about what happened when COVID happened, right? When that happened, when everything was shut down, when the shutdowns happened, well, they paid out checks, right? They gave PPP loans, they gave all these things out, they gave money to people, they had money for different states for different protocol. Well, where did all that money come from? The reason why there's inflation right now, Trump likes to blame Biden, Biden blames Trump, everybody blames everyone else. No one wants to take credit, but it's pretty simple. We didn't have money set aside for the shutdowns, right? We didn't have taxes. So where did the money come from? We just made it up. Actually, that's where all money comes from. All the money was just made up. and when I talk about money, I'm not just talking about bills. Even the concept of gold. People like gold's real money. Well, gold's not real money either. It's rocks. It's yellow rocks that we've decided to assign as money. And because it was challenging to do a barter system everywhere. If you were a farmer and you had corn and you needed a pot, it was you didn't and then you took the corn to the potters that I'll trade you some corn for a pot. And if the potter was like, I don't need corn, I have plenty of corn, but I could really use a shovel. And then you would have to go to the shovel maker and say, hey, I'll give you some corn for some shovels that I got to bring to the potter. And the shovel maker might be like, I don't really need your corn, thanks a lot, but I could really use something else. And so this system of trying to take what you have and barter it was just very challenging. So we came up with the concept of money and saying this is instead of trying to find the right thing, everyone could trade their goods and services for these yellow rocks, right? Or for, I think the first money was like some kind of seashell, like a shale or something along those lines, right? And now we've taken that concept all the way to the point where we've come up with, dollars or euro or ruples or whatever yen, whatever value money that you want to say that's out there. And it used to be attached to the gold, but now we don't even attach it to that. So all money really is debt. Thank you. I'm getting comments about my eye patch, and I don't have glasses today, so because I bought this patch that it's like jutted out, so I can't put my glasses on over this. So it was either squint the entire time or put the eye patch on. So here we are. So am I English? No, I am American. I guess that counts as English. So anyway, where is my live performance is over here. Let me check out my TikTok live, people. Put that over here. There we go. Just to see if we have TikTok people. So anyway, so this concept of money was, okay, we take this paper, we attach it to the gold, and then Nixon took us all to gold standard. And so now money is basically just debt. It's all it really is. It's just a concept. It's a measuring of wealth. And just like I think Alan Watts has my favorite definition of wealth. Wealth is resources times time times intelligence. So the point is, you take those three things. That's the real wealth. That's the real thing, right? Whether it's resources or time or intelligence, what things that you can make. This is the wealth, and that's what we measure it in money. We say, how valuable is your intelligence, right? So if you're a doctor, we value that intelligence more than if you are a ditch digger, right? You have to have intelligence to be able to do that. And then we also value the time, and then we value the resources. But money is simply, how am I? I'm good. Thank you. Money is simply the tool that we use to measure wealth, right? Just like inches. Inches do not exist. There's no such thing as an inch. It's just a measurement of length. And just like we have any kind of measurement that we have is simply not real. It's words aren't real. Measurements aren't real. They're representations of what is real, and money is not a real thing. And so therefore, people are like, oh, money is not a real thing. Money, how can you say such a thing? I can't, I get blah, 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 right? So imagine, and one of the things that, because we've been duped into thinking money is real, it's extremely important. And it's not the money that's important, it's the resources that are important. And this is really important. This is more important. Why I'm talking about this, because we're going to talk about humanity after money, because humanity after money only comes if the resources become abundant. All right. I have a degree in economics, and all economics is if you look it up, it's the study of how to disperse or how to dispense or the use of scarce resources. That's what economics is. But if the resources aren't scarce, then you don't need money, right? It's really that simple. We live on a planet where there's air. We don't make people pay for air because it is in abundance. It's everywhere. We don't look at somebody running down the street and going, hey, well, they're using too much air. Like, look at them. They're breathing a lot. They're breathing much more than me. They should pay for that. We don't have that thought in our mind because it's abundant, right? Everything that we need as humans is abundant to us, but the idea of getting it is not as abundant, right? Air is everywhere, so we're like, okay, that's very abundant, right? And that's the thing we need most. If we, as humans, we can't go more than 3-4 minutes without air. So what's the next thing we need? The next thing we need is water, right? That's the most important thing. Our body is made up. Some people say 70%, some people say 90%, whatever percent. It's a huge percent of us is water. Well, water falls out of the sky. We can drink water. Literally, we have a filtration system that literally will take water that is salinated, put it up in the sky, get rid of the salt, and drop it on you, and it's free. All right. But we pay for water. It drives me nuts that we pay for. I grew up. I'm almost 50 years old, so I grew up in a day where, I mean, we still would pay for water, even though I drank out of a hose. But the idea of bottled water to me would have been like in the 80s, it would have been a joke. Now it's like everybody drinks bottled water. Like we've been fugazied into not believing that our water is good, and we got to drink bottled water all the time. But anyway, that's a whole nother thing. But the concept of 3/4 of the earth is water. Now you might say, well, that water is salt water. Yeah, but we know how to desalinize water. Like we know how to do it. We know the process of doing it. The reason we don't do it to make sure everybody has enough water is, you guessed it, money, right? Because it's very expensive to do, or it's too expensive to do. So the point being is that if it wasn't as expensive, if we can make it cheaper, then it would be abundant to everyone, and we wouldn't charge people for water. We shouldn't charge people for water because it wouldn't be a scarce resource. Right. And so what's the next thing we need, as far as like food, right? As far as humans, right? We can go a certain amount of days without, just talked about fasting. Crusader told me to fast. So maybe I should make food scarce so I don't have my eye explode. Right. But food is important. Well, where does food come from? It grows out of the ground. Like we literally can get food. We can eat like almost that. We're omnivores. We can eat plants. We can eat meat. We have so much food in our country that we literally destroy food. We pay farmers to destroy certain amounts of food, right? So this is all this is something that happens, and it's bad, but it's the reason we do it is because of our money system, right? Again, the monetary system, the tool that was beneficial to us. Once we get to the point, it's the point of technology is to ease our pain, but every time ease our suffering, make our lives easier. But every time a new technology comes along, we are so attached to this concept of money and the old system. Like we say, oh my God, we're going to lose jobs. We're going to lose jobs. We can't have this new, cotton gin because we're going to lose jobs. We can't have these new machines, the robotic arms. We're going to lose jobs. What's up? Yes. For those of you who are coming in and referring to my eye patch, I already spoke about it at the beginning of the show. So I'll go through and explain it again later. But yeah, so the eye patch is on today. But so the point being is, the object of technology, the object of creating things to make life easier, and then saying, well, we can't use those things because we'll get rid of jobs. But the jobs that they're getting, it's like, do we really want people in a field, picking fruit and vegetables? Do we really need people to, if the food was so abundant and there was technology that could make that so abundant, then we wouldn't need those jobs. But then people say, well, how are they going to get paid? Where's the money come from? Well, we lose all these jobs. It's not like people want those jobs. They just need a paycheck. They need money so they can sustain themselves. So we're literally doing things. We're stopping technology for a system that's an old system, right? That we won't need eventually. And we're getting down to the point of the AI. It's like, so as AI comes about, as robots come about, the robots and the AI are going to be able to do everything that humans can do better, longer and better, right? This is what is on the plate. This is what's coming down the pipe here. And we need to start getting rid of it. And any occupation you can think of, teachers, truck drivers, movers, doctors, lawyers. Right now, there's already AI that can pass the bar exam, right? That can make arguments, it can do paralegal work, can do all that stuff. Um, Healthcare, as far as my father passed away because the nurses were he was a big guy and they didn't want to rotate him around. He ended up getting bed sores, right? Um, but a robot could do that. You could lift them, turn them, move them, right? And could do all this stuff. Like any job you can think of, the Amazon warehouse, that's going away. Like all these things are going to go away. Now, people are going to resist this because like we need jobs. And it's like, well, no, you don't need jobs. You need money. And then it's like, well, then you don't really need money. You need resources. The money is money. We just literally we don't even print it anymore. Like we could literally just have a computer system that puts some digits and it's not even printed. My eye's bothering me. Sorry guys, I'm trying to read the comments, but I can't because I don't have my glasses on for this eye, and this eye I can't obviously see through. I see some people are writing some stuff. I appreciate it. I appreciate your comments. I will read them all eventually. So this is the thing that we have to. So we're holding our species back, holding on to a system that no longer will that we no longer need. And as much as people say, it's funny because right now what's going on is like the young people are all talking about right now Mondani in sorry, this thing's looking weird, and it's not the best eye patch in the world. So watch me as I struggle. Like right now in New York City, there's all Mondani just got voted in, right? And the whole thing is like, oh, he's good. He's a socialist. He wants to pay people to pay for things, that wants the government to pay for everything, And it's funny because the opposite is like the Republican MAGA capitalists. We capitalist is the right way to go. But Elon, it's interesting that Elon will become the richest person on earth, and if it happens, if he becomes the richest person on earth, it will happen through the robots that he's making, right? The Tesla bot, and the robots will bring about socialism, because really socialism, the problem with communism or socialism, when you have the government run everything, is then they are in control and they can do things that they can starve out the people, they can have control of everything. But we're not going to make socialism by controlling the scarce resources, right? And causing like the bread lines in Russia and whatnot. We're just going to have so much resources. We'll have the ability to create however much we need, that it won't be necessary to have a monetary system in place. Capitalism won't be necessary, because you'll be able to make anything you want. The AI will be tremendously smarter than us. And when I've had this conversation before, even before AI and robots came out, and people were like, what about things that are naturally scarce? Okay, so like beachfront property, or I don't know. So there's certain things where like they are going to be scarce. So my thought was, look, you can have a base level, like you can when I'm talking about this, there's going to be a transition, and this is something people need to start talking about. I don't have all the answers, right? I was just explaining to I was showing some people the new AI music, right? They were taking 50 Cent and Eminem songs and Biggie songs from the 90s and turning them into actual soul. AI is changing the music and taking the lyrics and then making it like a soul singer from the 50s, and it's amazing. It's really great stuff. And so I played it for my sister, and she's like, I don't like it. I'm like, you don't like the way it sounds? She's like, no, it sounds too good. I actually talked to a couple people who said the same thing. It sounds too good. I don't like it because it's not real. And I'm like, well, sure, it's real. It's AI just made it. But what my point to her and to other people is, it doesn't matter whether you like it or not, or whether you feel it's good or not. It's coming, and there's no stopping it. The AI is coming. The robots are coming. right? If you're on TikTok right now and following me, there's two people in here. Thank you very much for checking in. This is Cosmic Matters. We do this every Sunday, 10 to 12. I'm probably going to cut it a little short because my eyes are bothering me already. But if you're on TikTok, you'll see that I have Elon's pay package up here, and he has to hit all these milestones, or what they're called tranches, in order to get his payout. And basically, what he wants to get is 12% more of Tesla. And one of the things that he has to do, I think it's number, of course, I made it as small as possible. Whatever, I think it's number 3 or something on there. Is they have to sell 1 million Tesla robots. 1 million Tesla robots. Do you know how many they've sold so far? None. Do you know how many they can sell right now? None. They don't even have anything you could buy at this point right now. But he's like, we're going to sell 1 million. I have to sell 1 million in order to get my pay package. So do you think he's going to work on this? Yeah. And every time Elon's had a pay package like this, where it's incentive based, he's hit it. He's hit it early. And so, somebody has a track record that goes, so we got to start preparing. This is what's coming. And the robots are the first thing they're going to take away is like, I always tell people, like, the first thing the robots are going to make are more robots. All the, they're going to get they've gotten the hands down to where they can make they can make the chips. So like their whole NVIDIA, stock that's doing crazy and is like one of the best in the world. What happens when the robots can do that? Then they're not going to need people anymore to do that. As far as, so the robots will be, the first thing they're going to start making is more robots. And what the difference between what Tesla's doing with their robots and what everybody else is doing with other robots, like I have people show me all the time, like my friend Mohammed, Super High Man, always sends me videos of, like this company that's making a robot. I think like Xpeng in China has a robot. And what Elon has said many times is that prototypes are easy and production is hard. So like if you take a group of engineers, right? You take a talented group of engineers and you say, let's make a robot. Let's go and make something for what's that thing with the Robot Wars? Is that what it's called? Where they like have the robot that like fights, like the little drones that fight each other. I forget what that's called. But anyway, I know some people who do that. So if you want to make a humanoid robot and you just said, oh, let's get some people together, let's figure it out. We'll work, day and night, figure it out, blah, blah. You can come out with a robot that can do backflips and dance and do all kinds of stuff. That's just like you can make a car that could do something amazing, or you can make, because making one of something, how many times have we seen cars? I've seen there's a Instagram woman who is always showing this brand new type of car. There's all this kind of cool stuff in it, blah, blah, blah. But it never gets to production. Or when it does get to production, it's much more watered down than what the prototype was. Because the reason is to make one of something is a lot easier to make than making 100 of it. And then it's also a lot, and that's 10 times easier than making 1,000, and then making 100,000, and then making 1 million of them. Because you have to make because you can't just make the robot, right, to do one thing or to be fancy and make you can make one robot that can do all that stuff, but it's a difference between making one and having all these people work on it versus making it mass producible so that you can have an assembly line that can put it together, right? The reason why Lamborghinis cost so much is not because of how crazy good the Lamborghini is, but it's because of the fact that it takes so much labor and work to make one, right? They're not mass produced. That's why they cost so much money, because it takes, this many hours to just make the chassis or whatever, right? So Tesla's not trying to make the best robot ever. They're trying to make a robot that they can mass produce. And this is why I invest basically any money that I have left over to invest is why I invested all in Tesla right now, because they have 3 things in place to mass produce robots. The first one is the engineers to make a robot, right? They have all this data, this AI data, and real world data of traveling through the world, because they've been having their robot fleet of cars drive around and take video and give data to the AI to learn how to move about in the real world. They're the only company that has that much data. Secondly, is they have the engineers to do it, the robotics part of it, so they can work on that. Third thing is they have the manufacturing abilities to do this. Like their plan isn't like, let's just make a robot so we can bring it out to the shareholders and get some people to invest some money. No, his pay package he has to make 1 million of them, and then he's talking about making 100 million a year, and then he wants to make up to 1 billion a year, right? He wants to have every person on Earth having at least 2 robots, or for every person on Earth have 2 robots available. Now, it doesn't mean each person's going to own a personal robot. It just means there'll be robots growing food. There'll be robots, driving, unloading trucks. There'll be robots, doing all kinds of stuff in the medical center. There'll be robots in the Amazon warehouse, and when you think about all the things that those robots are going to be able to do, you don't have to. Robots, for example, can do things. I'm going on a tangent, but they can do things that you can change the whole idea of how things are done, right? So, for example, I worked in solar, right? So let's say we have solar, we have robots that can go on roofs and install solar panels, right? Well, we have to be there's all kinds of laws and rules, that OSHA rules of, people have to be harnessed in, they have to do this, they have to do that for safety. The robots don't need all that. If a robot falls off the roof, who cares? Like, it's fine. It'll be okay. It's not going to break a leg, or we can just fix it or repair it. There are certain rules in warehouses of like how far apart the shelves need to be, because of the fact that people get claustrophobic and there's danger aspect to it. Robots don't have that. It could be just robots don't get claustrophobic. You can maximize space because the robots can get things and pack things that humans can't. They'll be better at it. As far as truck driving, you can only drive, or even whether it's truck driving or it's any job, basically, there's a certain amount of time that you can go before you have to rest. Robots don't need that. They don't need rest time. They can just keep going, right? So they don't get tired. They don't get angry. They don't need days off. They don't need holidays. They don't have, eye problems. So these things, so the robots, now you're taking some from a person who can work 40 hours a week to now, it's 168 hours in a week. The robots don't need to sleep. They don't get tired. All they got to do is recharge, and you can actually, and they'll find ways to charge these things even while they're working. You can put a solar thing on it. You can attach it to a power supply, while it's walking around and robot. And by the way, if there's a cord and a different robot trips over the cord, so what? It doesn't matter. They just get up, right? Then they don't get hurt. They don't get pain. They don't have any of that stuff. So I don't really think people understand, what kind of shift that is. And the biggest expense that any company has is people, is their workforce, right? Because you have to hire the person, you have to train the person, you have to pay taxes for the person, you have to double, as an employer, you have to double the taxes, you have to pay the taxes twice, you have all these other things, all the holiday pay and dental insurance and all this other stuff that you gotta pay for, right? That goes along with a human. If you watch one of my favorite shows I used to watch was Restaurant Impossible, right? And he used to teach people how to price their dishes, and he was like, you need a third for food costs, a third for labor, and then a third, I think it was like profit, right? So you make 1/3 of the money, and so labor was like a third of the cost, just as much as the actual food costs were, and even more. I think it was labor and something else. So the point being is, when you eliminate the people, now, by the way, we talk about inflation. Well, now we have massive deflation, because the products can be made by robots. They can be working 20 hours, 20, 23, 24 hours. And one of the things I was on the Tesla kick a second ago. One of the reasons why I heard someone talking about these robots and how they're made, in that why prototypes are one thing and mass production is another, is the robots have to be made to last, right? So when you see like a company that makes a robot, and you see a video of a company with a robot that's doing backflips or whatever it's doing, understand that they're doing that once, right? You have to make the actuators and you have to make the robot durable enough, right? Because we're talking about it working for 20 hours a day. So if it's picking up a 30-pound box and moving it and walking it across a warehouse or putting it up on a shelf or whatever. It's not going to do that once. It's got to be able to do that over and over and over and over again. And now we're not talking about doing it for 8 hours a day. We're talking about doing it 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, because robots don't need weekends to rest. And 365 days a year, because they don't need Christmas and holidays off. Right. So when you have that massive, so that's another thing that the robots have to do. They have to be sturdy. Right. So it was actually an interesting thing, because it went from the people who are looking to invest in these robots or invest in this stuff. The first thought was that the AI was going to be a problem, like actually figuring out how to if the AI, if the software, if the brain of the robot was going to be able to learn the things that it needed to learn. That was like the first problem. But now a lot of the VC investors that I've been watching and following, they're more concerned now about the actual hardware. Are the robots going to be made well enough to be doing everything that they're talking about for an extended period of time? And it's not going to be like the first generation robot's going to come out and it's going to work. And again, what Tesla's going to do, their first robots are going to work in their own factory. They're actually, some of them, working there now. And then they're going to come out with a generation 2 and a generation 3. And the robots are not, by the way, Elon likes to talk about like having a C3PO in your everyone's going to have one of these robots and what they're going to cost. And you have to take what Elon says with a grain of salt as far as time span. Like the million robots that they have to make, none of them are going to go to like consumer, like end retail people like me and you. They're going to go to businesses. They'll probably be made in Tesla. Like right now, I think SpaceX just bought like 1,000 Cybertrucks, right? So the first million robots are going to be, it's like Pepsi has is using the Tesla electric semi trucks, right? So that's who's getting it first. So just what I'm talking about is not going to be, even if production ramps up, and like this milestone Elon has to hit is in the next 10 years. He has to get to 1 million robots, right? So they got some time. So like I said, hopefully by the time hopefully it's 20 years or 30 years. But the thing is, we got to start preparing for this, because I want to get to now the next point. And the video that I want to show is that the abundance we have to, as humans, this is going to happen, whether it happens 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, for the generations right now who are, for my niece who's 10 years old, she's going to live in a world of AI and robots. Like that's what's going to happen. So we need to set structures in place and start moving our society to the point where we don't value ourselves based upon our work, right? Because we do that a lot. We do that from time someone's a little kid. What do you want to be when you grow up? Like we our occupation. So like we ask people, tell me about yourself, and the first thing people say is their job. I'm a teacher. I'm a doctor. I'm a lawyer. Like that status symbol of the things that we do is going to have to change. Right? Because we have different statuses. Like when somebody says they're a doctor, you go, ooh, okay, like you're a doctor, you make a lot of money, you're really smart. Like there's connotations that come along with your profession, right? If you say you're a garbage man, somebody's like, wow, you wake up early every single morning. Like we understand what that means, right? It's like you're a hardworking person, you probably have a good pension, right? So like these are things that we think about that come along with someone's profession. And people get wrapped up in their profession, right? Like I'm a financial guy, right? A finance guy. I work on Wall Street. That comes with a level of pride, so a level of identity that people go with, right? And this is why even I felt it myself. Like I'm like because I don't currently have like a job like that I'm looking for. I'm like I gotta find something. I gotta find something to do that that fits me, because I need the identity, right? Because I live in this society. I've grown up in this society, and also money. right? So what happens when that's all taken away? What happens when there are no more truck drivers, right? Because driving a truck is better by a robot who can drive longer, can unload the thing, can it's safer, has less accidents, doesn't, what happens when all those jobs go away? What do all the truck drivers call themselves? Like, how do they find meeting, right? What happens when all the doctors go away? Because AI is much better at, diagnosing and catching small glimpses of things when they do scans, when they do this, when they do that. It's much steadier when it's doing surgery. When it gets to that point. Now, again, not today. Again, as I say these things, I'm not talking about today. I'm not talking about tomorrow. I'm not talking about in 5 years or 10 years. But eventually, this is what's going to happen. This is, if you want to predict the future, study the present. Well, this is where we're going. And you could see the trajectory of where AI is gone, where the self-driving cars are gone, where the robotics is going, like where all the money is getting funneled into, as far as the stock market and whatnot. It's like when I was around at the beginning of the internet. At the beginning of the internet, there was an internet bubble and everything crashed because there was nothing. Like, people were just like, pets.com was like a company, and all it was a name, right? It's pets.com. Everyone just had a .com, and nobody knew what was going to happen and how the internet was going to work, but everyone was trying to get in right away. And it took a while before MySpace came around, and Google came around, and then Facebook, and then TikTok now, and YouTube. And it was, I was using the internet in 1994. I don't think, actually, let's see, when did when did Google start? Let's see. Maybe I should look things up because I can't see. When anybody know off the top of their head when Google was founded? When did Google come out? I'm going to say 2004. 1998. Wow, that's really early. I didn't know that. So all right, so yeah, so but in 1998, Google was not what Google is today, right? There were still like Ask Jeeves and AOL and all these things. So, and there wasn't, and Google didn't have billions of dollars. Actually, let me see. When did it get onto? When did Google get onto the stock market? Go public. Google went public in 2004. All right. Okay, and the company. So it's founded in 1998. It didn't get on the stock exchange until 2004 and become a $1 billion company. And so there was a transition. People still learning. This is what's going on right now with AI. People are still learning. I literally, just before I turned this video on, or the camera on, I was watching a video of a guy who was walking around with his cell phone and going up to people in a store. Like, he would take a picture of them, right, in the store, and then he would be like, he would go up to the same person later on and be like, "Is this you?" And they say, "Yeah." And it's like, "Well, we have video of you, stealing stuff or talking to this person." They're like, "What are you talking about?" And then they would show them a video, like, "That's you, right?" And they're like, "Yeah, that's me." And then they'd see the person walk and then putting like clothes into their jacket. And he's like, the guy's like, "I don't have anything in my jacket. I can't. What is that?" And literally, they're making AI videos in the store of these people. And they were realistic enough to fool the actual person that they're showing the video to. And so, and that's now. That's like what's going on in 2025. What will it be like in 2035? In 2045? How good will the AI be? So, so my point being is we have to move away from these systems, and hopefully the AI is good, and hopefully we program it to be good, and we program the robots to be good. That's a whole nother thing. I always say, I hope they treat us as pets. I hope because they're going to be able to think much faster than we can, and I hope they give us pet status, where they like us so much because we created them, that they provide us all the food and water and shelter and things that we need. But construction, by the way, there won't be no more homeless. Like, homeless will be gone. There'll be no more hunger. Hunger will be gone. Like, because the food, it will be like air. There will be, if you could fast forward, as long as the AI is good, we're going to talk about that. I mean, we might fast forward and we'll be in the Matrix, and the AI does that too, or Terminator 2. But I'm going on the prerequisite that the AI is good, right? Um, if the AI turns out good and sustainable abundance comes about, we're going to be taught. If you went 50 years in the future, we'll be talking to people like who they'll be saying like, grandma, what was it like to live in the days where you had to pay for stuff, where you had to buy a house, where you had to like pay for, you had to, so if you wanted to have a car, you would have to buy one. Like, so you wouldn't just, press a button and then a car would come pick you up and take you somewhere. You literally had to buy it. And then you had insurance. What is insurance? I don't even understand what that is. Explain to us the concept of insurance. Wow. That's crazy. So you had to pay for something that would only kick in if you got an accident. But why were there so many cars? How many people would die? 40,000 people would die, but a year would die driving cars. Why would you do that? That's so weird. That's what it's going to be like in 50 years. And so groceries didn't just show up at the house. You had to actually go. And now when I say all this stuff, people go, well, no, and people are not going to know how to grow food, and we're going to be so reliant on it. What happens we're going to lose music. We're going to lose touch with our souls. I've heard ever since I've started talking about this, I've never heard the word soul so much than when I started talking about AI. And here's the thing. This is why we need to decouple our personality from our purpose from our jobs. Like when Andrew Yang ran for president, one of the things I love that he said, he's like, we need to come up with more value of people than just economic value. Like, people have other values. There's value in learning how to play the guitar. There's value in taking care of your kids and growing and having two parents at home that take their kid and travel and see the world, and go about without this concept of you need to work, you need to have money, there's the thought process of, and this is how I wrapped up the last podcast last week, was, well, if money was abundant, if everything was abundant, you didn't need money anymore, if you can have whatever you wanted, people just be lazy. People just sit around. It would be like WALL-E. If you've seen the movie WALL-E, where like everyone becomes fat, they're on the recliners, and then and they're just given food or whatever they want by the robots. I mean, if you want to have a poor view, I would guess, of humanity, you could say that there would be people who do that. Could it go that way? Sure. But what I found is when people have free time, when they don't have to worry about money. Oh, I would like to see your conversation with Grok about this. Sorry, I'm trying to read some comments that are coming in. But when people have free time and they're freed from their jobs, they don't do nothing. Like I said, I'm doing this podcast right now. I don't get paid for this podcast. If some people give me some likes, then I'm super happy for some likes. Do I have any likes? I don't even have any likes on TikTok. Well, I don't have anybody watching now. But I don't do it for money. I do it because I like doing this. I enjoy talking about this stuff. I think it's interesting. I think it's important to share these ideas and concepts, even though I have an eye that looks like. By the way, my eye doesn't look weird. Just so everybody knows, it's just when I look through it, it's cloudy, inky and cloudy. Anyway, this is just better for me to see. Just in case people thought I didn't have an eye anymore. But what was I saying? But yeah, this podcast, like I play volleyball. I have 2 volleyball leagues that I do in the summertime, and I'm very serious about them. And I do them. I love playing. I enjoy my teammates extremely, and whatnot. And I love playing, but I have no dreams of becoming a professional. I don't even know what a professional volleyball player would be. I'm not going to ever win tournaments. I'm not going to do anything. I just like to win and play. And so people will do things. And by the way, when I play volleyball, there's like 1 million people playing pickleball. Pickleball is ridiculous. So the concept that people won't do anything and just sit around and be fat and lazy, I don't agree. I don't think that's, do I think there'll be a certain part of the population that will do nothing? Sure. But even if you do, how long can you do nothing? And this is good. Good segue. This brings me to, because there are people who get like this. They're called super rich, right? Like if you think of people who, there are people who make to the point where, like Elon, for example, is so rich because he makes things, but his goal is not to be rich. Like he's not like, oh, like even if he gets this $1 trillion payout, I don't think people really understand it. It's not like Elon's getting like Tesla is paying Elon $1 trillion in cash. Basically what the point is with Elon is he has about 12, he owns like 13% of his company. He's afraid that if he doesn't have a majority stock and if he's going to make all these robots, he's seen what happened with OpenAI, where he invested in OpenAI and Sam Altman and them sold it to Microsoft. And he was like, it was supposed to be open, and now it's closed source. Like it's supposed to be open source, so anyone can look at it and see what's going on. And now you closed sourced it and you sold it to Microsoft, one of the evil corporations, right? And so he's like, well, I don't want that to happen with Tesla. I don't want to put all this money in making these robots and making this AI, and the Tesla's taken over by a BlackRock or a Vanguard or by some person who's extremely wealthy and comes in and takes the company, because I don't have enough shares of the company to make decisions on it. So I'm not going to do that. So I want to have at least 25% control of Tesla. That's what's going on now, which means he needs another 12% of the company. And the way his pay structure was set up, if you're looking on Twitter, is that he's got to take Tesla from a $1.5 trillion company to an $8.5 trillion company, and he's got to sell 20 million cars, and he's got to make a million robots. Like he has to do all these things. He can't just do like some of them. And if he doesn't do all of them, he gets nothing. He doesn't get paid at all. So he's pretty motivated to do this stuff. So the point being is, but who does that? No one else is taking a pay program like that. And the reason he's taking that pay program is because that's what he really wants. It's not like he wants money. Like he's got so much money right now. If he wanted to just sell his shares in Tesla and just be a rich dude and do nothing, he could do that. And he could do nothing. He could disappear off the face of the planet and just be a rich guy and be able to pay and buy whatever he wants. People always, say, hey, does anybody know how much $1 billion is? He has this much, blah, 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 blah. Great. So understand that he doesn't do that because he has this mission that he's on, to make the Tesla this great or whatever. Hey, what's up, Jewish? Oh, I missed her. She already left. So people popping into my my lives. Thank you for the heart as well and the gift. I appreciate it. So the point being is there are people who could live that life already, but once you get to that point, like Elon sold all of his houses. Like, yeah, I remember he like bought the what was his name? The guy who Gene Wilder. He bought Gene Wilder's mansion, and he had one of the first James Bond's cars, and he had all this stuff that he bought. And again, I'm not rich or wealthy by any shape or form, but from talking to people like this, you get to a point where you can only accumulate so much stuff. Like, there's only so many cars you can drive, right? There's only so many vacations you can go on. And this is a good segue, right? So I know everyone hates Will Smith now, right? But he has a really good, I'm going to pull it up. He has a really good, I watched a short video that was him talking about this concept. So let me play this real quick. It's short, and let me share my screen. Got it there. There it is. All right, let me play this real quick. Hopefully I'll be able to play it. There we go.
People talk about rock bottom, that when you hit rock bottom is when you'll make a change. But there's a corresponding place that I call cliff top, right?
Like you could be too high?
Where you get so high that you realize literally none of the stuff can make you happy. Right. After you can get to the end of the material world. You get to the end of money. You get to the end of sex. You get to the end of fame. You have so much, and then you like go off of a cliff into the same kind of abyss that you'd be scared of slipping into at rock bottom. Right, where life loses all of its ability to sustain and please you. Right. And then the only thing that's left, the same thing at rock bottom, the only thing that's left at cliff top is you have to find what you're actually looking for, and what you're actually looking for is you.
What you're actually looking for is you, right? So this is what's going to happen to everyone, right? Now, by the way, I'm playing Will Smith doing it because is there anybody? I mean, there's very few people who have more money than Will Smith, who have more fame than Will Smith. You're talking about sexy guy of sex. Like, why do people like Robin Williams and who was the Nirvana guy? Why do people who have what we think is everything, all of a sudden? Hey, what's up, Muhammad? I sent you a link if you wanna come up, but you can stay in the chat if you wish. But why does there people who get to that point where everything that people who don't see, like we think we want these things until we get them, and then when we get them, then we're like, oh, this happens with people all the time. It happens with little kids. They want a new toy, and they beg their parents, and I just want this toy. And if I get this toy, I'm going to be so happy. And that's all I need is the toy. And then, Christmas comes or their birthday comes, and they get them the toy. And what happens? They play with the toy for a little while, and then, now they want something else. I mean, new toy, right? So it's like, what about this thing that you wanted so badly a month ago? You used it for a month. You played this game for a little while, and now you don't. Now it's not interesting anymore. So if your identity is wrapped up in, if your identity is wrapped up in the material thing or whatever it is that we're searching for, what happens when you finally get it? All right. When you get it, then you're like, okay, well, what else is there? And that's where we have to, as a society, figure out, because we are going to get to the point where all the things we think we want are going to be taken care of, right? There will be no more homeless. There will be no more hungry. There will be no more, societal clashes between the haves and the have-nots. There might be on a different level, right? There might be on a level of trying to control, but I think even the AI will take that away, because it will figure it out. If some humans like, I'm gonna go and get in nuclear, like, the thing is, do we want it's I say these things and I don't have answers, but is it any better having a human in charge who has emotions and his feelings and could be like, all right, well, I'm just gonna press this button and we're going to declare war and send out nuclear bombs, or having AI in charge and saying, no, we're not going to let you do that. There's certain things you're not going to be able to do, and we'll give you everything that you want, but there's certain things we're not going to let you blow up the earth or kill yourselves or create crimes and all that kind of stuff. So there's a whole level of, like, as I'm saying this, I can hear the arguments. I can hear Muhammad in my head saying, well, what about this? What about that? This goes evil and that goes bad. And you can always find, I don't know how it's going to work. This is the reason why we need to have these discussions. And the first thing is people have to accept that this is what's going to happen. I'm trying to see what it says there. If you understand it, you can let me know either way. Oh, it must be about the, before I show you the Grok conversation, you should read my little writing. All right. I'll try to read that later. I'm sorry. I'm having trouble reading because this eye, even though it's clear, I can't see without my glasses. So it's very hard for me to read. But anyway, let me get to, so let me remove that. I want to get to this talk before I go. We're only an hour in, so we got plenty of time. So Elon was on Joe Rogan, and he talked about the oncoming AI and all this stuff. And then Joe Rogan had on another guest. Hey, Soup is coming up. Where are you? Soup, you're here. Even though I see old me without the eye patch. Now at least I can tell the difference between me and old me.
Hey,
you there?
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Yeah, we can hear you.
How's it going?
It's going great. I was just about to jump into this, which actually would be, I'd like to get your commentary on it as well. About to play this Joe Rogan clip of him, and I think his name's Feinstein. Brett, I can't read it. Feinstein talking about his conversation with Elon. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna play it a little bit, and then we'll chit chat about it. Pull it up. Let me know if you can hear it when I play it. Hold on. Let's start from the beginning.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
The projection that you're telling me Elon has made about high income for everybody is a little bit like another version of that.
You can hear it okay, right?
Oh, yeah, I hear it real good.
All right, good, perfect.
Right? It's like, okay, well, sex became relatively easy to access as a result of reliable birth control plus abortion. And then now wealth, the ability, purchasing power, is going to become trivial as a result of AI. I don't know if that's likely, but let's say that Elon is right about that. Well, okay, then what exactly is supposed to structure your orientation to the universe? What is supposed to give you purpose? If it's not producing kids and protecting them from the horrors of the world and making them strong so that they can go out into it and accomplish important things of their own, and it's not creating wealth so that you will be rewarded and that your spouse will smile on you, whatever it is, then what is human purpose? I think this is a terrifying prospect, that everything might be taken care of for us and leave human beings listless.
Sure.
So I'm gonna pause it there. You have any thoughts on that? I have mine, but right where he is right now. Good.
I'm still trying to. Yeah, I still need to hear a little more, but I think I know where you're going with it.
Well, I'll just say my first thing is this is the whole point of why I'm talking about this, why I'm doing a two-parter on this, is because you weren't here before. I don't know when you jumped in to start listening, but I was saying, like, this is what's coming. And the best thing we should be doing now, whether that it comes in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years, it's going to be here. One of the things I heard Elon, one of the reasons I got involved with Elon's companies in the first place, way back in like 2013, which is crazy for me to say way back in 2013. That's nuts. But one of the things I heard him say was, he's like, eventually we're going to run out of fossil fuels. He's like, now, whether that happens in 5 years or 20 years or 80 years or 100, we're going to run out of fossil fuels eventually. So we can't switch all of our infrastructure over when that actually happens. We can't wait till it happens. So, like, why don't we start doing it now? Why don't we start switching things over to renewable energy now? Because we know it's going to be a problem at some point in the future. And the best time to get started is today. And I was like, that makes sense. Even if you don't believe in climate change or humans creating climate change or whatever you don't believe in, you've got to understand that at least at some point in the future, whatever time frame that is, humanity is going to run out of fossil fuels. So I take that same philosophy with AI and robotics. Like, I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. So we might as well have these discussions now and start moving ourselves in the direction of, now, are we going to actually do that? No, because humans are reactive as opposed to proactive. And we'd have a lot of things fixed if we actually looked into the future and stopped worrying about today. But the point being is we should, so that's why I'm having a discussion.
Or if people like you would get into politics, but you know, they don't. Like if Neil deGrasse Tyson was a politician, I would love to live in the district, city, or state that he was over.
Yeah, see, the issue is, I think it was, I was actually listening, I think it was Joe Rogan too. Oh, again, I was on it, where he was talking about like people who get into the politics the way they are currently. It's so hard because the first thing you need is money.
Yeah, you gotta have money.
Yeah, and to get the money, you know, we've talked about this 100 times. You know, you've heard me say it 100 times. Is that, you know, we separated church and state originally from America, but in America too, we're going to need to separate corporation and state. And
you're trying to you're trying to get taken out, trying to get, you know what I'm saying? Because look, a lot of people don't think about the fact that Caesar, right? Let me make sure. So Caesar, before he was unalived, one of the last things that he did was he made interest illegal in all of Rome. So all of the senators that were in bed with the bankers, they had to take them out. And then Octavius, the person that took over from his grandson, if you look at his first job after the new government was formed, he was like the master of coin.
right.
So I mean, it all happens the same. Like same thing happened to Kennedy. You know, he's like, oh, you know what? We're gonna get rid of the Federal Reserve and we're gonna have an actual United States bank where we make our own money, right? And 3 weeks later. So I mean, it's dangerous messing with the money supply.
Well, it's again, people who are in power do everything they can to keep that power. You know,
yeah.
It's one of the things I used to talk about since I'm on TikTok here as well. When I talked about AMC, you know, I was like, AMC would. Do you think that the people who are not going to spend, who are billionaires, are not going to spend a couple $1 million, $100 million to save $1 trillion, $1 billion? Like no problem. Like it's not like the people are going to just be like, oh yeah, let's just let this happen.
I am so glad I gave up on AMC when I did, because a lot of people did not give up on AMC for a long time. You gave up on AMC before I did, and that was probably a month or two before I did. And I wish I would have did when you did, because it never went back up. It still hasn't. You know, that money was made. It was time to let it go, like in Frozen.
Yeah, but the thing is,
I learned my lesson back in April from that, because when April happened, I was like, you know what? I did good enough. I'm gonna stop. And it was a good time. You know, I wish I would have stopped maybe 2 weeks before, but I had to think back to that same situation, and you just learn on top of all the situations, you know, over and over again.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to get off on this is not finance matters.
No, that's fine. So I brought it up.
Yeah, you did. It's your fault.
Well, it's like, you know, when I'm looking, I just brought up the people who are on the money. You know, why, you know, if you ask people who's on the money, they would say presidents. I'm like, all right, well, when was Benjamin Franklin a president?
Normally they say the real founding fathers. That's what I've always heard.
Oh yeah?
Say. Oh yeah. That's what
That
that
was
was
a dead presidents. It was a movie, Dead Presidents.
right. But Benjamin was never a president.
Right, but most people don't think of it like they don't even put that together
Right.
because they just think, well, Washington, Lincoln, Jackson, and they don't remember. I don't know.
They're just like they're old presidents. So yeah, whatever you say, I'll agree with it.
But the idea is like, why Andrew Jackson? Like, why Ulysses Grant on the 50? Like, why are these people on the money? Why not pick different people to be on the money? Well, and why is Washington on like two forms of money and Lincoln on two forms of money, as far as coins and paper? Why, there's no other president you can put. Well, it's because those people were the ones who were the most against the central bank are the ones who got their faces on the money. Everyone tried to get rid of the central bank. The central bank said, yeah, stick them on there.
Yeah. if you look back
as a warning,
one of the main reasons that George Washington stepped down, one of the main reasons that wasn't talked about is he started to see that all of the people on his side of the aisle were pro central bank, and he didn't want anything to do with it. So he was like, I'm just going to go retire on my farm and you guys do what you want. I told you I thought it was a bad
idea. George Washington said a lot of things that he thought was bad. Like, I think he was no political parties was one of his major.
Oh man, we really need to go with that. It should be illegal to have a political party. Like, you can have your own ideas, but the parties, they take away the freedoms of the people.
Yeah. So the point being is, I don't think we'll ever break that unless sustainable abundance comes around, unless we get to the point where economics and money aren't necessary anymore. And people aren't going to give up that control. This is why, and I'm sure there's people who have different opinions of this, but I'll say my opinion and what Elon said. Whether you believe him or not is everyone's own opinion. But Elon was basically like, I'm not getting anywhere in the government. It's such a broken system that the only way I can fix the system is I have a better chance of fixing it by making the robots and the AI than doing what I was trying to do involved in government. And I think he took enough. I think enough Teslas got burned where he realized this isn't. I got what I needed out of it, whatever you want to, as far as that goes. But he was banging his head up against a brick wall, and so. And I think the tweet was like, why am I on the beach making like a sandcastle or something when there's like a tidal wave that's coming in? And so like Doge and all the things that you're trying to cut, like you could cut all you want. It wasn't going to change the system. The system is not going to change anytime soon. So the only way to change it is be radical, like present something that's completely different, which is everyone losing their jobs. And it's going to be a tough transition, but I think the other side of it,
everybody's going to lose their jobs.
Everyone.
Yeah, no jobs. But I don't think it's going to be all at once. I think
no, definitely not.
In the beginning, it's going to be like 10% unemployment. And then like 10 years is going to be 20%. Then in another 10 years, it'll be like 50%. And then in like a generation or two, we'll be down to 10% of people working. They'll all be engineers. They'll all be focused on one goal, which is creating more colonies past Mars. And because the colonies on Mars are going to be starting and are taking off, they should be at least starting by then. And then Star Trek Next Generation happens. That's what we get. That's what we get.
Yeah. So I'm under, well, as we've seen with a lot, whenever something new comes, humans are very bad at understanding exponential growth or exponential what is it called, changes, whatever. I can't think of the word that I'm thinking of. And so I think that there's going to be an S curve, and that it won't be the way you were looking, because we tend to think of things in linear fashions, but when disruptions, exponential disruptions, right? So it's like when the car came around to take over for the horse, people are like, oh, it's going to take years and years and years, and it took not quite as many years.
How long did it take?
Much faster. Well, there's that famous picture of like the New York, I want to say it was like 10 years, but where like it went from 90% horse once like the Henry Ford, mass production of cars came about, not like from like the invention of the car to, horses gone.
Well, I know that one thing that started it was the horse poop in New York and the unions that couldn't get enough people to clean it up. And one of the other things that was a huge catalyst was WW1 and the new inventions that were able to be used, and they were like in war, and war has been a catalyst of human imagination forever, unfortunately. But that's another thing that made it take off. So it says that it took roughly 20 to 50 years for cars to completely overtake horses, with the transition happening rapidly in cities around 1908, but taking longer in rural areas. By 1912, cars outnumbered horses in New York City. Development afforded reliable Model Ts by 1908. The replacement of cars was gradual. Looks like it overtook horses in the 1940s. So from 1908 to the 1940s, so almost 50 years to completely overtake horses. So I think that's what I was saying, 25 to 50 years. I think it'll take to make that type of exponential
right.
change.
So when you're talking about complete takeover, that's a long when that I'm talking about that. So when you have an S curve, you have like the beginning with the early adopters, and then the mass is like that 70% in the middle, which is the early not the early adopters, the early adopters and the the early majority and the late majority. All right.
The first thing it says is the manure problem in cities was a major issue, which motivated the switch. I knew that from like Jeopardy or something, that the two top things that made cars like have huge jumps was the manure problem. So that was the 1900s. That was the first one. And then war. So in the 1920s, there was a huge jump. And then in the 1930s, that's when it overtook it, like went 50-50 because of WW2. And then by the 40s, they were like, okay, we got to get the horses off the street. And then it finally overtook it in the 40s. I think that'll be the same way with people, but I think it's going to be that way because people are going to have less kids because it's going to be way more expensive to have kids. And they're going to slowly get pushed out of the workforce until the only jobs available are cyber engineering jobs.
Well, okay. I think there will be a transition that way, but what I think will happen is I think our country is going to be forced, and the world in general is going to be forced to having a UBI system.
Yeah.
Like because the amount of jobs that'll be going away just from robotic autopiloted cars and trucks is huge, right?
Are you talking about AI specifically?
I'm talking about AI and robotics.
Yeah. Well,
So
I would
both
say if you're
coming at the
talking
same
about
time.
AI and robotics, I would say that we are already 20, maybe 30 years into the AI robotics revolution. And by 2050 will be that 50-year mark where everything's completely overtaken. So agreeing with you that in the next 10 to 20 years, everything's overtaken. But I think 30 years of all, like how the Model T came out in the 1900s, right?
Mhm.
Robotics really started taking over jobs in the 80s when you had industrial plants started saying, hey, let's put some robotics in here, and car manufacturers started losing their jobs. So I think that was the beginning. And then you also have IBM looking at AI technology in the 80s for the purpose of taking over jobs. So I think the start date, like the Model T of what you're talking about, was in the 80s. And we're almost 30, 40 years into the end result.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think that by 2050, less than 10% of people will be working in cyber engineering jobs, and the rest will probably just be on farms being turned into Soylent Green for the rich.
Okay. So the time frame we can always, we can debate and talk about. That could actually be a whole show. But the end result, I think we both believe the end result is going to happen at some point. And that's kind of what he just talked about
100%.
in that clip, is that how do we come up with an identity? Because our identities have been wrapped around survival. And I don't know, were you here when I played the Will Smith clip?
I hopped on YouTube right as the Will Smith clip was like ending. So I saw like the last like 10, 15 seconds. So I didn't get the whole idea from it.
His well, it's short. I'm gonna play it again because it's worth it. Let me remove this. I'll come back to this. But the concept that he's talking about is, it's almost like what I talk about when, or what Alan Watts talks about with the whole concept of living in a dream, right? If you could have everything that you wanted, how long would you go through self-gratification? That time frame, you get to a point where that gratification doesn't, you can only do so much. You can only eat so much food. You can only travel so much. You can only have sex with so many people. You can only do it until you're going to get tired of it. And that's what that clip was about, because now you have Will Smith, who actually has the ability to talk about something like that. Let me share it. Here we go. Let me play it, because I can't talk about it because I haven't reached that level. Most people haven't reached that level. But here, is he up? Yeah, let me play it.
Could have everything they dream, right, to realize that that's not it. People talk about rock bottom, that when you hit rock bottom is when you'll make a change. But there's a corresponding place that I call cliff top, right?
Like you could be too high,
where you get so high that you realize literally none of the stuff can make you happy. Right. After you can get to the end of the material world. You get to the end of money. You get to the end of sex. You get to the end of fame. You have so much, and then you like go off of a cliff into the same kind of abyss that you'd be scared of slipping into at rock bottom. Right, where life loses all of its ability to sustain and please you. Right. And then the only thing that's left, the same thing at rock bottom, the only thing that's left at cliff top is you have to find what you're actually looking for, and what you're actually looking for is you. You're looking for you. You're running around, right? When you like a woman and you like being with a woman, it's because you like how you feel. Right. You like what's happening inside of you. When you have money, it's like, yeah, it's cool to buy things, but it's not the money. You like how you feel inside. It's unleashing a feeling inside. And at rock bottom and at cliff top, what you have to learn how to do is generate that feeling without anything external. You have to learn how to like you so much that you like being alive so much that you bring positive energy that's not generated by stuff, right? Because stuff is coming and going.
Right.
Like people are coming and going. Everything you have and everybody you love is going to rise and fall in your life. The place that we have to find is a spiritual place where we are good with us. We trust us. I trust myself, I trust God, and I trust life that whatever happens, I'm going to make happy out of it. I don't need specific things to happen.
So, any thoughts about that? Now that you've seen the whole clip?
It seems simple, but it's not.
No, no, definitely not.
Oh, uh-oh.
Yep. What? You're not there anymore?
Oh, snap.
What happened?
We're gonna be right back.
Oh, you gotta go. All right.
Oh, no. You disappeared for like 10 seconds.
I was changing the things around.
Oh,
But yeah, not simple. Go ahead.
oh no, okay. Yeah, I was just telling the audience, like, making sure, because I didn't hear you or nothing. Yeah, it wasn't. He was basically saying when you're at like when you're in bad moods, when you're at your lowest lows, you only think that you can go lower, but when you get to your highest highs, you also think about the lows. But that's when you're supposed to figure out like where you want to go.
Well, let me push back on that. Like, I think what he's saying to me is when you hit rock bottom means you don't think you can go any farther down. And cliff top, what he was saying is you get to the point where you have so much, like you can do anything you want. So it's not like looking down. It's like I have so much that nothing is really giving me pleasure anymore, because there's no more cars I can drive. There's no more women. Like I've any woman, like Derek Jeter. I've slept with the 15. I'm Wilt Chamberlain. I've slept with 20,000 women. I don't really, So okay, all right. There's no drive there anymore for these things because you have all these things. I can't be more famous than Will Smith, and so I can't go anywhere. And so what he's basically saying, and when you hit rock bottom, he's the same thing. You're like, I have absolutely nothing. Like, and I don't have my health. Like somebody who doesn't have their health, they don't have a job. They're just they're done. It's like, I can't go any lower. I'm not going to get any pleasure from outside. So you need to find inside. You need to look into yourself and say, what's the meaning of my life? What purpose do I have? And because we're all playing this game where it's like we got to get stuff, the human condition game. But when you step outside the bounds of that game, you're like, okay, well, my point isn't to hit the volleyball over the net anymore. What else what am I going to do now? There's no more there's no more rules. The rules that I thought were in play, the rules that I thought were in play aren't in play. And what I think that the thing that Will Smith was going through is what's going to happen to, because that happens to how many people get there. You think of I don't know if you've seen like what's his name, Drew Carey.
Yeah.
Drew Carey, right? Like what he's like now, like he's got the long beard and he says all this kind of stuff. He's very Buddhist kind of like, and he doesn't want to do any more movies. And he says he's talked about the same thing. Like he got to this point where he had everything he wanted, and now it's like, well, what do I do now? What's the purpose of me being here anymore? And
man, that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate.
Well, it's unfortunate, but it's what now let's take that feeling
Mhm.
and not just give it to the super rich and the super famous, but give it to majority of the population. Give it to 80% of the population, because food's taken care of, hunger's taken care of. You can do whatever you want. You know, the shelter, you don't have to work for your house. You just, people need, they lose that purpose. It's like we need, because we've been telling kids from like the time they can talk, what are you going to be when you grow up? That's your purpose. Hey, who are you? Hey, nice to meet you. My name's Jim. Hey, what do you do for a living? I'm a doctor. I'm an accountant. I'm a this. I'm a truck driver. I'm a blah, 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 blah. Right. And so what is your purpose after that? That's what I think is coming. That's kind of what the guy was just talking about in that Feinstein.
Well, I think the purpose I think that thinking about each person's purpose, like I understand that for each of us, you know, I get what you're saying. That's great, like for everybody. But I'm thinking about it on the idea of like we're the reflection of the universe, right?
Mhm.
And like, you know, the idea that if we have done everything and we're gonna forget that we've done everything, like what do we want to do, right? And it seems like getting to the point to exploring the physical universe, starting with our own galaxy as a unknown species, like as humans. So peopling on Earth, just like, let's go see what's out there. I think that's the inevitable direction.
Sure. I agree. So instead of being in a survival mode, right? Like, I said this again before you jumped on, but, Andrew Yang spoke about when he was running for president, because he's just early. The things that he was talking about, he was just too early, because people weren't, like, he was talking about UBI and machines taking over and all that kind of stuff, but we weren't there yet. So people didn't really take it seriously. But he talked about, having value, people finding value other than economic value. He's like, there is value in just being a parent and raising your kid properly. There's value in learning music, or being an artist, or like you said, exploring space, or exploring, like, there's still going to be things there, but I think our system is so generated to make have not to it's so focused us on money, that we need to be working to survive, to make money to survive, that those other things become secondary, and we think that money is so important. And that's why the whole thing is like, well, what happens to humanity after money? Right?
After money?
Yeah, that's the title of the talk today, just so you know.
Oh, I just looked up the humanity after money. Oh.
So
wait
I want to play a little bit more of that podcast.
Okay.
Well, unless you had something to share. Would you have something to share?
I was going to say, to answer the prompt, humanity after money, does that mean that money will no longer exist, or no longer exist for most people?
I'm going to say no, there's no longer a need for it.
Are you only talking about fiat currency or real?
All currency.
You're talking about
the concept
gold.
of money.
You're saying gold will not be currency.
Right. There won't be a need for the measurement of wealth. Just like we don't have a need to measure people's breaths of air.
How long do you think until that?
I don't know.
Ballpark. Nearest 100 years, nearest 50 years, nearest 20 years.
Let's say, well, if I'm going to be super conservative, 100 years from now. If I'm going to be a super conservative, if I'm going to be if I had to put like my 80% target, I would say less 40 to 50 years.
I'm gonna say 1,000 years minimum, and it would take 75% of the population being cold in a quick weekend for that to happen, because of the worldwide emphasis on gold, even outside. Like, I just don't think the world is going to be fully on top of it by then. I think it'll take 1,000 years for gold to not be money.
But the thing, so it's not about the gold or what we call money. It's about the need for the resources. That's my point. The point being is, if all the, like, we don't charge people for air,
right?
We don't have economics for air because it's in such supply.
Yeah.
We don't, right? But it's in such supply that we don't need. Economics is the study of scarce resources. You don't have economics of air because we don't go, hey, you're breathing too much, stop jogging.
If you're hiking the Mount Everest, you have to pay for air.
Right, because then it becomes scarce. Once it becomes scarce resource, then we have to have economics of it. How is it going to be doled out? So my point, what I'm talking about, is once the robots that can work 20 to 23 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, can produce anything. They can produce the food. They can grow food constantly and grow food inside, outside. They can build as many shelters as we possibly need. If you need a house, it can be built. They can regrow the the trees that are needed for the houses. They can mine out all the minerals we need. They just go. We don't need no more child labor needed. Just send in the robots. They can do all that. So for me, it's once you get to that point where, and then we don't have enough of the minerals that we need in here. Right, we get sent some robots to that meteorite that has all the stuff in it, and just bring it back. So I don't think we need that yet because I think Earth has plenty of enough resources to handle everyone on Earth at this current state. So that's what when I'm saying 40 to 50 years, AI and I think AI and robots could at least take care of almost 90% of human needs by then. That's why I'm saying. So therefore, it's not that gold or whatever. It's just the need for the barter system to buy something won't be necessary.
Yeah,
that's what I'm. So
my thing is 75% of the world are Luddites. 75% of the world Luddites.
Correct. I agree with that. But so how fast will people change if Trump sends them $2,000? Right? They'll be like, all right, well, I'm cool with that, right? So when you have UBI, like, you could be like, hey, I don't want this thing taking my job, but if I can make the money from the job without having the job, I'm not a Luddite anymore. I'm like, all right, cool. If I can have everything that I wanted without having to do the thing, I don't care about the thing taking the job.
Really? So I'm gonna give you something that 75% of these people want. You tell me how the robots or AI are gonna do it, right? Get them into heaven.
You don't have to. You can now go and pray 7 days a week. You don't have to worry about food, this, that. You can whatever religious thing you need to do.
The good book says that a good day's work is godly.
You don't. Okay, you can still go work. Okay. So like the idea.
If I'm at work, I need to get paid for my work.
No, you don't. I go play volleyball. I practice. I do all that stuff. No one pays me. My sister loves gardening. She's gardening every day, making food that she don't need to. She can go to the grocery store and get it, but she loves gardening. Like, the idea of the robots
48 hours
stopping you from having to do anything, you would have to come up with the purpose of what you want to do. You could learn the guitar, you could you can learn anything you wanted. You just don't need to do this.
Yeah.
You could just find your own purpose without without that. And some people would go explore the ocean, and some people would go explore space, and some people would just become good guitarists and play volleyball. Some people would still stay in the medical field. Like there's still things. I'm not saying that the robots stop you from doing it. This is what we were talking about. Like, we're not going to turn into Wall-E, where everyone's just fat and sitting on a recliner, and the robots just bring you food.
You don't think
And
so?
they just eliminate your need to have money to go buy food. You're not like, oh, I got to go to work today, because if I don't go to work today, I'm not going to be able to live. I'm not going to be able to support I'm not going to have food. We're not going to have water. We're not going to have a shelter. We're not going to have these things if I don't go to work. Versus, okay, great. Maybe you sit around for 2 months on your butt because you're getting the government paycheck. But after a while, you're going to be like, I want to do something. You can only watch so much TV. You can only do that so long before you finally say, let me get up. I want to read a book. I want to, do something. I want to learn something. So that's what I'm saying. We have to come up with our own purpose.
Yeah.
And
you got more faith in humanity than I do.
Yeah, I do. That's why I actually, it's funny, before you came in, I was like, I can already hear soup in my head.
I'll stop being contrarian so you can go on with your thing.
That's okay.
I am gonna have to jump off by noon, so
yeah,
I got like
too.
18 minutes.
All right, so I'm going to play a little bit more of this, and we'll wrap up with that, because I wanted to get to this last week, and I might have to do a part 3, but I'm not going to do part 3 next week. We'll do a different topic next week.
People are all good and gonna help everybody, no matter where they're from, because all humans love each other. And when we get enough robots, everybody's just going to use those robots for purposes to continue helping other people.
You're thinking that the robots are, so the way it's going to happen is not done out of good. Yes, you did miss that part about my eye patch. it's the beginning of the show.
Is that on TikTok?
Yeah, someone on TikTok just asked me. It's Nick. What's up, Nick? But I'm waving over here, but I should wave over here. The idea, what's going to happen, the robots are the transition. So we could do a whole different thing on how this transitions. It's not like, let's make robots. It's not going to be like, let's make robots for the benefit of humanity. It's the capitalists saying, I'm going to get the robots because it's cheaper for me to own a robot than to have a human worker, right? That we can agree that that's easy, right? To figure that one out. So that's the first stage. But then what happens is, if you have robots now instead of having a human worker that can only work 8 hours, they can work 20 hours. They don't have, I don't have to pay for their healthcare. I don't have to pay for this. I don't have to train them. The compute's done and it's logged in. They don't need holidays. They don't have bad days off. They're much more efficient, blah, 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 right? So now you're getting people replaced by robots. So at some point, now some people start losing their jobs. Now, UBI has to come in, because not only just because you don't want people rioting and being Luddites, like you said, but for the capitalists who now have made all this product, they need people to have money to buy the product. You need the demand as well as the supply, so they could supply, and this is going to drive down prices considerably, because you can make the supply of the thing immense, but you need demand. And if nobody has money, then no one's going to buy the product that you're making. So it doesn't matter how cheap you can make it, or how cheap you can lower your expenses, or what kind of profit margins you can have, because you've made everyone poor. I mean, you've gotten rid of all the jobs. So now this is where you tax. I don't want to get into the logistical. Let's do another time.
Tax the rich.
I don't want to get. Well, no, you tax the robots. Just like
the robots are gonna be taxed. Wait.
Yes. So let's say
you tax the people that own the robots.
Correct.
Who owns the robots? Private people or the government?
Private people. Capitalists. It's still capitalism. So if I could take $100,000 worker, right, and I can get a robot instead, for $40,000 that will do the task that's going to cost me $100. By the way, not only is it $100,000 for the salary, but $100,000 is probably $140,000 after benefits and all the other stuff that comes along with it. Right?
I apologize. I did it again.
What?
I did it again.
You took me on a tangent.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Listen, let me just go with the narrative so we can get to the video and we can argue this later.
Well, it's not even an argument. I'm just going through. I'm just explaining.
No, I get it. I get
how the
it,
transition's
and I
gonna
agree
happen.
that it could happen. I just don't have faith in humanity. But I
The
agree.
robot is bought. Like the person who has the building they're not doing it. They're going to go buy a robot.
But capitalism needs a certain amount of losers in the system for it to be able to work.
I get it, a certain amount. But now when robots can do every kind of manufacturing job,
There's no longer capitalism, and there's no way to make money off it.
Right.
If there's no way to make money off it, then there's no reason for private industry to do it because they're not going to benefit.
Right, because it happens in stages. So the first, like the stages are, so the first stage is the robots are brought in. The second stage is now supply goes up through the roof because you have people going from 40 hours to working 160 hours a week. Now supply goes extremely high. People lose jobs, massive amounts of job loss all over the place. The prices have to come down because people don't have money. The government taxes robots, gives the people money to pay for the goods and services. There needs to be somebody who pays for goods and services. Now, the point being is the capitalists are like, well, I'm not making enough money to do this. It's not worth it. Now, this is a generation we're talking about. I'm not saying like this happens, step 1 to Monday, step 2 Tuesday, right? It gets to the point where why do I want to start a business when there's not enough, when everything is being made by robots, there's not enough juice for me to sweat and to make a business from scratch to get going, to try to take over, because capitalism is about competition. Well, the competition is robots and anybody. So the new people don't do any of this stuff, and the robots just make the stuff after a while. The supply is just made. So it starts with capitalism, but it moves into it just transitions because supply becomes so high that there's no demand anymore.
There's only one thing to call it, and there's no way to argue it. It's techno-feudalism.
Okay.
That's the only thing that it can go into is techno-feudalism, where there's the people that already owned it. They own the robots, and everybody is living. Nobody has any needs for anything, but the only way to move up in that society is family ties, like being born into it, because there's no reason to work. There's no jobs. There's no reason.
Right. I agree.
So it'll become techno-feudalism.
I don't know with the term techno-feudalism. Futile doesn't sound good.
No. It's like it's feudalism. Feudal.
Like feudal. FEUD.
Like the feudal era.
So
it's like the feudal. It's like the feudal era where there's serfs and there's the lords, but because the serfs have no need for anything because they eat, they have families, they live good. They're like the hobbits from the Lord of the Rings. Right. They're happy, but there's no reason to want for anything more because everything's taken care of. That's techno-feudalism, is when AI and robots are doing that. That's what it is.
All right.
So, and there's no reason for money in techno-feudalism.
I'm with you. Got it. I thought you were saying futilism.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Let's continue on with this. I know we got to wrap up.
Sorry for the tangent.
No. This is what the conversation is about. I love it. And I see people typing. I'm sorry, I can't read the comments just because my eye is bad. Both my eyes have different problems. All right.
I'm going to tell you right now, don't worry about these comments. Don't even worry about it.
Here we go.
Yeah.
That's certainly a possible outcome. But why is it that we have to make money a made up thing that we created? Why is it that is what gives us purpose?
Well,
Like, why is that our only motivation? And in absence of chasing food, housing, necessities, electricity, all that, if you don't ever have to worry about any of that stuff ever again, why is life dependent upon the pursuit of money? Is it just because we've grown accustomed to it and it's our way, and so we think that our way is the absolute only way? That doesn't make any sense. To me, it's like we can adapt to not living in fucking caves anymore. All right, we can adapt to cell phones. We can adapt to the idea that you don't have to spend your whole fucking life hoping to get a job you hate and working your ass off all the time because that's the only way to make it in this world. Well, that's a world that people made. It's a stupid design. It doesn't make any sense at all. And if somebody actually does come along and say, look, is this not socialism? It's not saying you can't earn money, but what if you had enough money that you didn't have to think about money? Like, if you think about that $37 trillion of this fucking country's in debt for, and how much wealth could potentially be generated by, we're talking about so much money floating around. If you just gave everybody in the country a real high income, livable life, so there's no more poverty anymore, how much crime would that solve? Like instantaneously. How much crime would be solved, or future crime solved, if everybody lived at a high income level? It sounds completely insane, but imagine if everybody in the country makes at least $500,000 a year. You know how different the world is? Do you know how less violence there is, less suicides, less drug addictions?
I'm not as convinced of this as you
Really?
are. No, I think things might get
If no
worse.
one was ever poor?
Well, I don't know what no one is ever poor means, because we obviously, even, the poorest person who isn't homeless currently, they have, indoor plumbing. They have a supercomputer in their pocket,
Right.
access to, the world's information. They are, by many measures, just simply in absolute terms, vastly richer than anybody from 300 years ago.
That's true, but it still sucks because
Well,
it's not 300 years ago. It's 2025 and you have zero money and you're eating ramen to just try to stay alive. It still sucks.
It sucks, but the problem is what's really structuring the suckitude is the fact that you're losing in competition, that human beings are programmed by evolution to monitor the well-being of others. And so you can be wealthy and feel poor if those that you compare yourself to are vastly wealthier.
Right.
So and there's a reason for that, which I think this is a reasonably well reproduced result. We know that human beings pay attention to their relative well-being, and that it structures how they feel about their absolute circumstances.
Right, but couldn't that be hijacked by hobbies? If instead of,
I feel like this is me and you having this conversation. It's kind of funny. You get to be Feinstein.
Yeah, it is. I was thinking the same thing.
But anyway, all right, we continue on. I want to 2 more minutes and then we'll wrap it.
your need to define yourself completely wrapped up in money, which is, again, a made up thing.
Yeah.
We're talking about the only species on the planet that we're aware of that wants to accumulate so much shit that it defines itself by it, and it's constantly chasing new shit, right? Like, why does that have to be the only way we do it?
No, I don't think it does have to be the only way.
Well, I think this is where Uncle AI is going to step in and fix it for us, Brett.
Well,
this is the rose-colored glasses approach.
Yes.
Is that we realize our programming is entirely dependent upon this ridiculous idea that the pursuit of money is of importance above all. Because in our current situation, it is. In our current situation, if you have enough money to feed your kids, you can sleep better. That's just how it is. If you don't worry about your bills, you feel better. You have less pressure. That's just how it is. If you have enough money to go on vacation and enjoy yourself and relax, it's probably better for you. That's just how it is. And this is it's a weird thing that we've all fallen into, that this is the only way to succeed. The only way to succeed is to work super hard to get money. And that's the only currency. It seems like you could have, if we never worried about being poor, but then again, like you'd never get the great stuff. You never get the greatest artists who were in deep pain when they were young. You'd never get the great. Then again, with AI, you might not need them because AI music is pretty fucking good, man. Pretty good. It's.
I want to hear what he's going to respond to that, because I think he's going to respond the way I would respond, and then you can cut it. But I think I just want to
really catchy.
Catchy is what it is. It's not good. It's catchy.
Oh, dude, it's good. I don't want to do this because I do this with everybody. But have you ever heard the 50 Cent version of?
Yes, I have.
What Up, Gangsta? Yeah. Have you heard that one?
I think so.
That's fucking good.
It depends what you mean by good.
It's good. It's objectively good.
It's
the fact that it's not a human being singing it is objectively good, troublesome, and very deeply problematic. But if you're being honest, it's great. It's a great fucking song.
I'm gonna
wait before he gets his response. Like, to state something is objectively good, that
is hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious.
Which is something that is, because good is not objective. It's all subjective. Anything good or bad is subjective to something else. But anyway, all right. So anyway, I get your point, Joe. All right, let's hear what Muhammad has to say in response.
I'll push back on you there, because what we are suffering from is the junkification of everything, right? And there's a way in which junk food is good, and then there's obviously a way in which it's really not. And I guess the point is, something that is superficially satisfying but does not, the relationship between a person listening to music and the person producing the music is supposed to be a provocative relationship, and it is supposed to be provocative in a productive way. In other words, you're supposed to be enhanced by music.
Yes.
I'm not saying that you will never be triggered to have an interesting thought by artificially intelligently produced music, but the fact, I mean, this is probably easier to do with comedy, right? Which I think will be the last to fall.
Yep.
At some point, have you ever heard AI making good jokes?
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
But I bet it will.
It will.
It's got made competent jokes. I've seen AI fake comedians tell competent jokes, like pretty good, like that you would see at an open mic night when someone's got a little talent.
Someone's got a little talent. So
yeah, they can do that now.
It's not far off.
Yeah, but it's going to do it.
Yeah,
it's going to figure it out.
So,
but in the future, when they try you they're going to use this conversation to say that you're racist against AI. This is when AI becomes an actual life form, and they talk about the people that resisted AI and were racist against AI.
We're racist against.
Yeah,
that's it, Soup. I might have to get rid of this podcast for you, but it's too late. It's already out in the ether. I don't want you to go to jail by AI. He left. Is he gone?
Listen, this is the thing. This is the thing, right? This is the thing.
You get the last word. You take the last word. Good.
The bottom line is that what he was saying was the music, the AI music that you're going to make for yourself is going to understand who you are by looking at your social media, your life, and everything. And it's going to say stuff that makes you think about a memory and have a response. And that's going to make you feel really good. But all it's doing is like potato chips, empty calories. It's making you feel good because it's just regurgitating something that it knows is going to get a response. It's like going to a casino and thinking you're actually winning millions, but you walk out with nothing. It's just empty calories. But like you said, there is going to be some good AI music eventually and art eventually, because musicians are going to get a hold to it and say, oh, this is why that's bad. And they're going to fix it and it's going to make it better. Or they're going to add their own idea to it that'll be something new to the masses, but not something that you create that's individual to yourself. So that's why, I think we had a similar conversation to that. But I think the way he said it is perfect, is that it's empty calories. I love that analogy.
Cool. All right. Well, football's on the way. It's 12:01. I don't want to hold you any longer. This has been another exciting issue of episode of Cosmic Matters. I always appreciate when you come up and join. And I don't think we're definitely gonna have more topics. I'm talking about this more. I might not do it again next week. I might change to it something else. It's been 2 weeks of this. Hopefully by next week I will not have an eye patch on anymore. I will give up my pirate lifestyle and I'll be able to see. And yeah, I appreciate everyone listening on YouTube, on stereo, and on TikTok. And,
yeah.
We'll have more Cosmic Matters to come. Oh wow, look at all the I didn't even notice all these people were on stereo. How you doing, people?
Is there a bunch of messages you got to play on stereo?
As a couple, but like I said, you got to go. Actually, I'll play one. We got Goobloop on there. He probably wanted to.
Oh boy.
I'm gonna end the podcast and I'll play the Goobloop.
No, you got to do it.
You want it? All right, here we got Goobloop. What?
Happy Sunday. Hope all is well. Hope you're having a great day and a fantastic show, Maddie. It's good to hear you and your beautifully pessimistic views. But I'm just wondering, what about looking into countries and cities and places on Earth outside of the United States that live in the future, like certain towns and provinces in China who are much, much more advanced, use much more AI and robotics. And everyone's still employed and their economy is not going to shit. And also, alternatively, look at societies that don't really have a need for AI or anything like that, like farmers and like people who are manufacturers and things like that.
That's a good point.
Don't necessarily need or want or will utilize robotics or AI. So I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on that, and if you've considered those things, or if you're just considering the mediocre normal person of which you and your buddy come from. So
well, as usual, Goobloop, one of our favorite people. Yeah, the things that are going on and the AI that is in
your eye
AI in China, which again, as you were saying, and I've already looked into these things and I understand how these things work, but they're not at the level that I'm talking about. They're not robotics that are creating everything. They don't have the robots to do that. They have the AI. The AI is one thing, but real world AI into a robotic, they don't have yet. And to be able to produce, and in China, you're talking about a lot more people. So, yeah, we're not there yet. Even in China, even though China does and Japan do all kinds of stuff with AI and they accept it more in the robots, they don't have robots that are literally humanoid robots in mass production that can take care of all of human interactions or jobs. So that's what the point of the show is. But we appreciate your colorful commentary.
But you're forgetting about the reality that the robots, when they start making their own robots, they're going to use the information that they're going to keep to themselves about time travel and singularities, and they're going to time travel to destroy all the humans so that they can be the only things that have ever existed, and then they're
Well,
going to take over the entire universe. I saw
Well,
Terminator.
Hey, look, if that happens, then whatever. Like I said, I hope the robots make us. I hope. I think the best scenario we get is that we are loved pets.
You know that the Matrix universe happened after in the Terminator universe.
Yes, we've discussed because the author was the same, and there was a whole
Yeah.
thing that went on in there. All right, Spirited. I don't want to end on Goobloop. Let me end on Spirited. Let me play her message because it's going to be more positive. And then I'll let you get their last one.
Yes, not losing the iPad. And where was my invite, sir? You have my number.
Oh, yeah.
I missed it. I just got here.
Oh.
I'm working out and enjoying myself, enjoying my Sunday. But you enjoy your football Sunday.
Yes.
I will too. I will go ahead and join my brother in watching the footballers. Have a good one.
The footballers.
Footballers.
Look, I do this every Sunday. I have an I know the stereo. I was saying in the beginning of the show, Soup, you weren't here for it, but I was saying like, my stereo avatar has an eye patch. It's had an eye patch since I made the stupid thing, and now it's life imitating AI. Maybe it was predicting. Somehow the algorithm made me put that eye patch on, knowing what the future was coming. There you go. There's your time travel AI robots. But all right, we're way over. I know. Did you have anything you were about to say something? Do you have anything you wanted to say? There you go.
Love is always the answer to every question. Even 1 + 1 is not 2. It's love. All right. I'm out.
All right, everyone. Thanks again for a wonderful Sunday. For those of you on the stereo, I'm going to stay on and play the messages because I always do that. And I will see everyone next week without the eye patch. I haven't thought of a good, so I'm going to give me a good sign-off line, for Cosmic Matters. I need a good one other than goodbye and enjoy your Sunday. But have a great day. Thanks, Renee. Thanks, Maya Gio, for hanging out, and everyone else who came and joined the show today.